Hi, this is Mr. Perry, and welcome to the New York State English Regents Review for question 26 of the New York State Regents exam. Before you, you'll see a question that we used in class dealing with the Laramie project and a newspaper article that you had to look up. Now, this question is going to ask you to develop a controlling idea, and from that controlling idea, you will write about the two works of literature, in this case, the Laramie project and your newspaper article, giving specific examples to prove your controlling idea. Now, that's really the key to this, the controlling idea. And I want you to pay attention because underlining in red right now will be the consequences of hatred. In this case, that is not your controlling idea. That is your topic. The topic is what you're going to be writing about through the lens of the controlling idea. So the topic is just going to give you what your controlling idea is going to be about. It's not going to actually be your controlling idea. If you look at the screen, it says this broad idea will always be the topic for your controlling idea, but your idea itself must be original, and that's really crucial to getting as many points as possible in this section of the exam. The other thing you want to take note of, and which we'll be highlighting right now in blue, is the idea of both, two events, two examples from both works. In order to get the full credit here, you're going to have to give examples from both works. Failure to do so and you're going to lose some significant points. So please, again, an original controlling idea and examples from both passages. If you don't do that, you're talking about a serious point hit. In this case, you're going to be writing about your newspaper article, whichever you've selected, and the Laramie project. On the test itself, it could be a poem, and a written piece, it could be something else. There are a couple of tips that you want to get in your head before you even start this. The first thing that you want to remember is that this is a one paragraph question. You're answering this in one paragraph. If, as it says on the screen, you answer in multiple paragraphs, what's going to happen is you're going to wind up losing points for not following the explicit directions that they're giving you on the test itself. So please remember that this must be answered in one paragraph. All that means is answer it as you would, don't indent a second time. Generally speaking, if you do indent a second time, that material in the second paragraph, even though you don't mean for it to be in a second paragraph, is not going to count to your benefit. The other thing you want to remember is that this particular essay, I used the wrong phrase. This particular paragraph is going to be rather long. Most paragraphs that you guys write are between 4 and 6 sentences long. This one's going to be anywhere from 8 to 12 sentences long. If you look on the screen, it says that it's going to be approximately 8 to 12 sentences long. I'm not going to give you a definite number, but it is going to be somewhere in that range in order to get the full point value for this. And remember, you can only really get a 0 for being off topic, a 1 for doing an okay job, or 2 for fulfilling all the aspects of the question. And this is really where you're looking to do that. Make sure that it's 8 to 12 sentences, and make sure it really does give us examples of the controlling idea. And here is number 3. Be sure to give specific examples from both works to support whatever it is that you're trying to say through your controlling idea. This is one of those things that people get serious point problems on. It's going to be an issue if you don't support what it is you're trying to say. Now, what's going to be on the screen for the next few minutes is going to be an actual example of what question 26 should look like when it is done correctly. Now, in this case, the controlling idea was that We're going to now go into the next section, and I'm going to pause here just for a minute. And if you take a look at this, what you have is, in the Laramie Project, Matthew Shepard is attacked and killed because he is gay. He's a gay man. His brutal death shows the reader the impact of hatred on an individual. Matt Shepard's death also let the reader know that violence based on hatred can happen anywhere, even in a small college town in the Midwest. So we deal with all of the Laramie Project. It's done, it's set, and it's in good shape. And now we will move on to the next section, which is going to deal with the newspaper article. Now this section, what you're going to be seeing is some brown writing coming up, and this is going to be dealing with the article. Again, very similar to what you did in the first part of this. The only real difference here is that you're focusing on the newspaper article. If this were the real Regents in June, what you would be doing is looking at whatever the second piece of literature is that they would give you. Most likely what they will give you is going to be a piece of prose and then a piece of poetry. So whichever one you felt stronger about would be what you started with. You would develop that as best you can. And then the second piece would be what you use to continue to build your paragraph. And again, it is just the paragraph. And if you look at this, it is staying with that paragraph format. Again, it's going to give you as much detail as possible, but that detail is going to be short and concise. So again, I'm going to let this just run out so you can see where it goes. Then we'll stop and we will read through it, and then we'll finish up with the conclusion. And this is going to be dealing with the article. Again, very similar to what you did in the first part of this. The only real difference here is that you're focusing on the newspaper article. If this were the real Regents in June, what you would be doing is looking at whatever the second piece of literature is that they would give you. Most likely what they will give you is going to be a piece of prose and then a piece of poetry. So whichever one you felt stronger about would be what you started with. You would develop that as best you can. And then the second piece would be what you use to continue to build your paragraph. And again, it is just the paragraph. And if you look at this, it is staying with that paragraph format. Again, it's going to give you as much detail as possible, but that detail is going to be short and concise. So again, I'm going to let this just run out so you can see where it goes. Then we'll stop and we will read through it, and then we'll finish up with the conclusion. Now let's look at this second paragraph or second section of this paragraph. In the newspaper article by Richard Winton, a young African-American boy was beaten by a group of older Hispanic men. This attack took place because of the racial differences between the boy and the men. More than 10 years after Matt Shepard's death and over 1,000 miles from Laramie, hatred again led to violence. Just continues that idea of moving through the controlling idea that hatred can lead to violence and that it can happen anywhere. Now, what's going to be coming up is basically the conclusion to our little paragraph. Conclusion is going to be short, it's going to be very simple, and really what the conclusion is going to allow us to do is just tie it up really, really well, really quickly. Now you notice here a mistake. You're going to have crossouts on the paper. Don't be worried about that. Don't be bothered by that. Realize you will have to go back and you will have to proof from time to time. That's just the way things are on these tests. So here we have again the conclusion coming up. The Laramie Project and the article essentially illustrate what the controlling idea or your version of the controlling idea is going to be saying. And you see again I made a typo using the capital instead of the lowercase. Again, you go back and you fix it. So we'll just let this play out and then we'll read the piece once together so you get a feel for what the entire paragraph sounds like. So here we are at the end of it, and let's, while the proofreading is going on, and on the screen right now you'll see some of the corrections I was making that I made as I was writing this paragraph. But real quick, let's just go through and we can hear the entire piece. Hatred can and does strike anywhere. This can be seen in the Laramie Project by Moses Kaufman, and the article by Richard Winton entitled Attack on Family in Compton. In the Laramie Project, Matt Shepard is attacked and killed because he is a gay man. His brutal death shows the reader the impact of the hatred on an individual. Matt Shepard's death also lets the reader know that violence based on hatred can happen anywhere, even in a small college town in the Midwest. In the newspaper article by Richard Winton, a young African-American boy was beaten by a group of older Hispanic men. This attack took place because of the racial differences between the boy and the men. More than 10 years after Matt Shepard's death, and over 1,000 miles from Laramie, hatred again led to violence. In both the Laramie Project and the news article, it is clear that hatred can happen anywhere. And here we have a tied-up paragraph. The paragraph is done, the paragraph is ready, and from here you can move on to the next video, which will be dealing with question 27. Thanks a lot. Again, I would watch how it proofreads out just so you get a feel for what I'm talking about when I say to proofread it. And good luck.